Good day, and welcome to the Lilly Roddy Show, coming to you from the LRS studios here in Houston, Texas. Thank you so much for joining me this week, March 16th through the 22nd of 2014. Well, this has certainly been a cold winter for 2014 with all of these storms. I'm pretty sure that this is, of course, related to the Uranus-Pluto square that I've been talking about since probably 2008. What's been making it a lot stronger or a lot worse is the influence of Jupiter moving through Cancer. And Jupiter tends to bring in strong winds whenever it makes aspects to other outer planets. Now, this weather pattern could easily continue through early May. And even with the warming weather, I would expect a continuation of these stronger storm patterns until we get past this big T-square, cardinal cross, that is going on in the sky. And a lot of that will be coming to a head during the around April 15th, but very strong in the last 2 weeks of April. Also this week, the Sun enters Aries the first day of spring, the vernal equinox, on March 20th, 11:57 a.m. Central Daylight Time. On this particular day, we have equal hours of day and night. And with spring, the daylight hours increase until June 21st, when the Sun enters Cancer, the summer solstice, the first day of summer. After June 21st, the daylight hours begin to wane until September 22nd, when the autumnal equinox, fall, or the first day of Libra, when we once again have equal hours of day and night. And then the cycle repeats itself in December, when we enter Capricorn and we have the winter solstice. So this is a continuation of the relationship of the Earth and the Sun to each other. Now, I did mention that there is a cardinal cross occurring in the sky in April. Now, a cardinal cross just means that there are 4 different planets in the cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And as these planets, Pluto, Uranus, Jupiter, and Mars, continue to get closer, the intensity that we're experiencing is going to get greater. It's probably good that Mars is retrograde, because that will keep people from overreacting, especially on the international scale. But tensions will increase after April 8th. I do expect some kind of reaction to Crimea and the rest of that area. On a personal level, we're all wanting to feel safer. Empower yourself and do the things you can do in your immediate environment to make you feel safer. We will continue to look at the cardinal cross through April. Now let's look ahead for what's next week. Sunday, March 16th, the moon starts and spends most of the day in Virgo, the sign of the fixer. The moon sextiles Saturn at 6:36 a.m. Now this is a good morning to be up early and start completing those tasks on your to-do list. In the afternoon, the moon opposes the sun at 12:08 p.m. This aspect is the full moon in Virgo. We're in a very self-reflective mood this afternoon. This is a good time to share your inner feelings with someone close so that you can get a good perspective on what's going on with you. The moon is now void, of course, after 12:08 p.m. until 7:46 p.m. that evening, when the moon enters peace-oriented Libra. Although the moon is no longer void, of course, after 7:46 p.m., there are no more lunar aspects for the rest of the day. You will find this to be a nice afternoon and evening to spend with close friends. Monday, March 17th, Happy St. Patrick's Day. The moon transits socially active Libra all day. The moon squares Jupiter at 4:03 p.m. Although we have not had a lot of lunar aspects in the earlier part of this day, the afternoon is much likely to be busier. This is a good time to get out of the office, to make sales calls, or to enjoy some libations after work. The moon trines Venus 4:17 p.m. This aspect stimulates our need to satisfy our more sensual nature. This aspect enhances the previous aspect, Moon square Jupiter, and maybe would extend drinks into dinner. In the late afternoon, Mercury, our communicator, enters Pisces at 5:24 p.m. Mercury, the planet of communications, will be operating in the watery and psychic depths of Pisces. Pay attention to the messages that you get from your inner self. Mercury will be in Pisces for about the next 21 days. The moon opposes Uranus a little bit after that at 5:50 p.m. We certainly want to break free from any kind of limitations this late afternoon. Try not to make any commitments that are either based on some sense of duty or obligation, or that commitment might make you feel trapped. Look for ways to think way outside of the box with this moon opposing Uranus. That evening, the moon squares Pluto at 9:11 p.m. We're certainly trying to get our message across this evening. If you're having a problem with your relationship, you will feel that you have to get rid of the block between you and your partner. If you're out partying, remember, everybody has an opinion. Tuesday, March 18th, the moon continues winding her way through relationship-oriented Libra. In the afternoon, Venus sextiles Uranus at 2 p.m. This is a very intensive day. We're particularly open to new ways of looking at things. With respects to relationship, this can really help to improve communications in any relationships. This can also help to soothe or fix any problems. This is always a good time for any type of presentation or dramatization. Particularly quirky is good today. And of course this aspect is in effect all day. The moon conjuncts Mars at 8:07 p.m. We're clear about what we want this evening. Try to make sure that what you're doing is what you want to do. We are all a bit defensive, and it could be easy to fly off the handle this evening. The energy of this aspect does well with a jog or a trip to the gym. Run both ways. The moon is now void of course from 8:07 p.m. until 4:13 a.m. Wednesday morning, when the moon enters Scorpio. It's better to focus on what you want to do for the rest of the evening, and certainly don't overcommit yourself. Wednesday, March 19th, the moon begins the day void of course, and the moon continues to drift through Libra in the early morning hours. My allergies here are just driving me crazy. The moon does enter perceptive Scorpio at 4:13 a.m. Later in the morning, the moon trines Mercury at 7:41 a.m. This is a good morning for any kind of detailed or analytical work. Pay attention to what your intuition says, because that will give you more clues to what's going on. In the afternoon, the moon trines Neptune at 3:10 p.m. We're in a much more relaxed pace for this afternoon. Try to find some time to be alone or in a quiet and restful place during this time. Toward the latter part of the evening, the moon trines Jupiter at 11:57 p.m. We're feeling a little bit more active and restless as we get toward the latter part of this evening. If you're up late, it's a great time for a glass of wine with friends. Thursday, March 20th, the moon resides in emotional Scorpio for the whole day. And our aspects start early. The moon squares Venus at 4:24 a.m. It's a wonderful time to be sleeping with visions of sugar plums in your head. And then right after that, the moon sextiles Pluto at 4:48 a.m. If you're dreaming, you're dipping your sugar plums in caramel. Or in reality, we're processing our emotional garbage in a green way. Toward the afternoon, the sun enters Aries at 11:57 a.m. This is the first day of Aries, the vernal equinox, and the first day of spring. The sun will spend the next 30 days in the sign of Aries. For the people in the northern hemisphere, this is always a time of new beginnings because it represents spring. Much later in the evening, the moon conjuncts Saturn at 10:11 p.m. We're assessing the results of our actions today. On a mundane level, this is a great time to clean out those closets. On a personal level, we're looking at what's really important to us and where we want to make our investments, and not just our monetary investments. Look towards strengthening your foundations. The moon is now void of course at 10:11 p.m. until 10:39 a.m. on Friday the next day. So we have kind of a long a long void of course moon. Fortunately, it sort of happens in the evening, although it will kind of make our Friday morning slower. Friday, March 21st. Our day begins with the moon, void of course, moving through Mercury, Scorpio. The moon enters active Sagittarius at 10:39 a.m. Try to plan your meetings and activities after this time when the moon is no longer void of course. The moon trines the sun at 12:27 p.m. Our afternoon begins with a grand feeling that things are going to get better. We are ready to bargain and negotiate. This is a good time to show yourself in your own best light. Later that evening, the moon squares Mercury at 7:29 p.m. We are very talkative and chatty this evening. This is a really good time for just processing what has been going on with you throughout the whole day. What you say may not be so important, but the process of saying it is very important with this moon square Mercury aspect. Later in the evening, the moon squares Neptune at 9:20 p.m. We will all want some personal retreat time with this moon-Neptune aspect. It's a good time for meditation or for only being around like-minded people. Saturday, March 22nd, the moon spends the entire day in spirited Sagittarius. Early in the morning, the moon trines Uranus at 7:35 a.m. We are really interested in what attracts us intellectually or mentally. It's a great morning to have coffee with friends. Really, any kind of social interaction early on that Saturday morning is very good. In the afternoon, the moon sextiles Venus at 2:03 p.m. We are much more conscious this afternoon and concerned about the best directions of our social activity. And if you have the time, take some time to mother someone you love. They will certainly appreciate it. And finally, Mercury conjuncts Neptune at 3:16 p.m. Since this aspect is in effect all day, it's likely to dampen the tone and the enthusiasm of any activity you are involved in today. This is really a mental health day. It would be much better if we were able to take some time to ourselves, relax at the beach or at the lake, or just hiding out at home with a good book. This is not the most logical of days, but your intuition is working overtime. Let that be your guide. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today as we talk about the upcoming week. I look for you to join me next week here on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Join me next week when we'll be doing March 23rd through March 29th, 2014. And remember to keep those stars in your eyes. Bye-bye.